Good afternoon. My name is Gary Connor, and I'm so happy to be with you here today, united in our common goal to help end hunger and poverty in America. Over the next few minutes, I want to encourage you and your friends to use the abundance in your community to start ending hunger and poverty right now. You have an unparalleled opportunity to lift up the lives of those in need. All it takes is the will to act, to let your hands, feet, head, and heart be living instruments of the love that motivates you to be here today. It is not our good intentions that will end hunger and poverty. It is our willingness to act people to people. Experts tell us that 40% of the food grown goes to waste. People are hungry, not because there is insufficient food. They are hungry because our distribution system doesn't work. Retailers have no way to get their shrinkage to those in need, and those in need do not have the resources to access the abundance. But you can create that link, as White Pony Express has. In its first 18 months, the all-volunteer White Pony Express has gone from 0 to having delivered 1,200,000 pounds of fresh, high-quality food from the abundance that already exists. We haven't spent a penny on buying food for our recipients. And we are delivering every kind of food that you will find at the most upscale markets the same day it is donated. Every day is bounty. One day it will be 60 cooked 10-pound hams among 20 lugs of food. Another day, a cart full of gourmet cheeses and several roasted chickens to accompany hundreds of pounds of fruits and vegetables. When a few recipients one day called to say they needed milk, there were 160 gallons of milk in the morning donations the next day. So how did this happen? And how can you replicate in your community what we've done? How can you help eliminate hunger right now? White Pony Express was founded by Dr. Carol Weiland Connor, the spiritual director of Sufism Reoriented, and was soon spun out into a separate corporation so that it could become a broad community program. Dr. Connor was troubled by the fact that although we lived in a county of tremendous abundance, scores of thousands of people were hungry, and even more were suffering with inadequate and unhealthy diets resulting from their poverty. She also knew that food retailers throw out huge quantities of high-quality food every day because of the artificial sell-by dates and because the food may no longer quite look retail. Dr. Connor came to me and my friend Lorraine Granite asking us to create a program that would deliver this wasted abundance to those in need. We were given a formation budget of $800. I think Dr. Connor was trying to emphasize that this is not a problem solved primarily with money, but with love, and with love's close friends creativity, flexibility, and responsiveness. To help illustrate the abundance and the problem of waste, I would like to relate a conversation that we had recently with the receiving manager of a grocery that donates to us 7 days a week. He told us that before we started picking up their shrinkage, they had to have their huge food waste bins hauled 4 times a week. Now it is hauled less than twice a month. So now the store feeds thousands of people each month for free, saves money on refuse charges, and the landfill is producing less methane gas. Based on my personal experience, I can tell you that you can get started with very little money and without any relevant experience in the food industry or even helping the impoverished. And even if you, like me, are horrified by the idea of making cold calls, the first step is just to say yes. When you say yes to meeting the need, the seemingly impossible becomes possible. If we believe in the essential unity of all, we cannot wait for the government to meet the basic needs of the poor. It is our privilege and our happiness to be part of the solution. Many volunteers tell us that the happiest part of their week is the time they spend with us. Neither Lorraine nor I had any relevant experience. However, we did know how to say yes, and yes became the clarion call of White Pony Express. For instance, when a new grocery donor asked me if we could also use flowers, I said yes, though I had never considered using flowers in our program. But you serve 2 important principles by saying yes. First, when you make it clear to potential food donors that you want to take everything, they give you more. So we never put any restrictions on what a food donor may give us. We even accept pet food, holiday decorations, and a carton of eggs with a broken egg or 2 in it. This is how we built a donation base. We made it easy for the food donor and always remained open. Second, by being flexible and saying yes to flowers, we learned how much joy it brings to those in need to have pretty flowers on their dining tables or in their shelters. Our recipients cherish these flowers. Flowers provide a nourishment to life different from what food provides. The first day we picked up a donation of flowers was the day before Valentine's Day last year. We were given many rose bouquets, and I was doing a run to a large church pantry and included 24 roses. As I started to unload the van, I overheard the middle-aged pantry manager, unaware of my presence, speaking to her workmate and telling her that she had never received flowers in her life. Well, I was able to turn with flowers in hand and say, "Your life has just changed. Here are 24 red roses." With tears streaming down her face, she handed 12 to her workmate. So say yes, even when you aren't sure how you can absorb the gift or meet the need. You will be changing lives. Always be willing to work, to be open to the unexpected, and willing to learn how to be ever more helpful. We found that in the willingness to act, you have all you need to end hunger and poverty. Because our experience is that when we open our hands in generosity, generosity not only flows from us, it flows to us. And it forms a beautiful circle of giving that grows stronger and brighter over time. When you help ensure that people's basic needs are met, they view the possibilities of their lives differently. By acting for others, you create hope. So we acted. We wanted to help end hunger. We didn't wait until we had all of our processes in place and well-defined. We started delivering food with the faith that the processes would catch up, and they have. We started as a virtual company. We had no place. We didn't even have a bank account. We had a free Google Voice number where donors could leave messages, and the dispatchers would pick up the donor messages, determine the recipient who should receive the food based on a worksheet they'd been provided, confirm with the recipient that they wanted the donation, and then they would call a runner who would use her own vehicle to pick up the food and deliver it. We delivered fresh food within 2 hours of receiving the donation call. We were prompt and reliable and gained our partners' trust. As White Pony Express grew, others started meeting our needs. Something about this work invites others to do what they can. People love this concept. When we finally needed space, a local faith group offered us a large room. Friends gave us a spare computer and printer, and a nearby resident allowed us to access his Wi-Fi. When we grew even larger and were receiving produce late in the day that could not be delivered until the next morning, we realized that we needed refrigeration capacity. Seemingly out of the blue, one of our recipient meal providers called. "Gary, could you guys use a commercial refrigerator and freezer? We have a pair we're not using." When large stores joined us, we needed refrigerated trucks and vans, and an anonymous donor stepped forward to provide the funds to purchase the needed truck and the needed van. And so it goes, a steady stream of miracles flowing out and flowing in. When we began planning how to meet Dr. Connor's goal of delivering abundance to those in need, the first thing we did was find and interview 501c3 organizations that were already serving the hungry. Without exception, every group needed more food, especially fresh food. So we started with 16 shelters, meal providers, homes for the disabled, and pantries. Some were very large and some were small. And the needs were great. One shelter had an annual budget of $784 to feed 40 people 3 meals a day for the year. A church in an impoverished neighborhood was serving a free lunch once a week to 100 people with a budget of $57. After finding our initial recipients, we began assembling the needed volunteer base. In the meantime, one of our prospective recipients told Siamak Siashansi, the founder of the Urban Farmers, about our new idea. The Urban Farmers helps prevent food waste by harvesting backyard and civic fruit trees so that fruit doesn't rot on the ground. We became immediate friends, and I told Siamak I would call him when our volunteers were ready to go. So I called him shortly before our Friday night training session. I was walking the volunteers through our live dispatching website projected on a large screen behind me to show how notice of donations would come in. Just as I turned and pointed at the screen, Siamak called in live, leaving a message that they had their first harvest for us to pick up on Sunday. So on September 22nd, 2013, White Pony Express began. We picked up the apples at the harvest site and were able to deliver 1,500 pounds of fresh apples within 2 hours of their having been plucked from the tree. The Urban Farmers were able to harvest 3 times more fruit than normal because they were no longer restricted by their small storage capacity. We were picking up the fruit for them. We had a slow start as we were introducing a new idea. But we did have the Urban Farmers Harvest each week that fall, and the vendors at many farmers markets in our area were generous with their excess at the end of the day. Gradually, smaller donors, and then the Cheesecake Factory joined us. The program began to catch on, and as we were introduced to new potential donors by our recipients, our network of recipients told us who we might ask for food donations. The number of organizations we are serving now has grown from 16 to 44. These groups serve 55,000 people. We provide the supplementation that makes their programs work at a much higher level than they ever anticipated. And those they serve are eating a quantity, quality and variety of food they never imagined could be a part of their lives. People have written to us to say that before White Pony Express entered their lives, they were sad and depressed every day. Now they say they are happy every day and look forward to creating new recipes from the food they receive. Others have told us that before our deliveries, their families ate top ramen 3 times a day for the last week of the month. Others extol the fact that they have been exposed to foods they had never experienced, and now ask for fewer sweets and more produce, because now they have sufficient healthy calories to afford the luxury of eating a more wholesome diet. We even introduce people to kale. White Pony Express actually records every pound of food delivered by donor, recipient, type, and amount. This allows us to provide tax receipts for our donors and to be much more responsive to our recipients. It is also an important management tool. We need to know what we are doing. According to federal standards, the 1,200,000 pounds of food we have delivered in these first 18 months represents 1 million meals the hungry in our county have had that they would have gone without. And it is high-quality, fresh food from retailers such as Whole Foods, Nob Hill Foods, Sprouts Farmers Market, Trader Joe's, The Cheesecake Factory, Costco, Walmart, Safeway, Walgreens, and 100 other vendors in our area. WPE now delivers an average of 4,000 pounds of food a day, 7 days a week, from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. We do not take holidays because the hungry are hungry every day. All of this became possible because we didn't worry about what we didn't know. We went out to learn what was needed. We acted. One thing we learned as we interviewed potential recipient organizations was that many of the recipients served people that were vulnerable and afraid. So to help reduce anxiety, we created easily identifiable uniforms. Although we were able to have these simple uniforms made for about $25 each, that would have exceeded our formation budget. So we asked our volunteers to pay for their own uniforms, and they were more than happy to do so. Now, when one of our runners approaches a door, the residents know a friend has arrived. We set out to do our best to meet the extreme need that exists in every community. This is something you and your friends can replicate. You start where you can, and you stand back in wonder as over time your generosity becomes a tidal wave of giving. Remember, we had virtually no money, no space, no experience when we started 18 months ago. After about 4 months and achieving some success, we did start minor fundraising by asking friends to donate small monthly amounts, putting a PayPal button on our website. In this way, we were able to raise about $2,500 a month, which was enough to meet our ongoing needs in the first year, since so much had been given to us free. Once we received our 501c3 letter, we were able to start fundraising in earnest. We will soon be faced with having to move into a new space and actually have to pay rent. But already, because of our first year's track record, individuals, faith groups, and foundations have been inspired to donate our entire operating budget for the coming year. And we have several hopeful grant requests out that will enable us to buy some assets that will make our work more efficient. People love this concept of connecting the abundance to the need, and they want to help. You will need volunteers to get started. We have gradually grown so we now have about 275 volunteers working about 4 hours a week on average. We found our volunteers among our friends and neighbors, faith groups, online bulletin boards, schools, and service clubs like Rotary. We received tremendous support from the retired and semi-retired. We reached out to the press and have received front-page news coverage and TV and radio news spots, which have inspired others to volunteer. We speak about our program whenever we can because as people become more aware of the program, they want to be involved. You will find that once you get started in this kind of program, it is a relatively easy sell. More and more people are concerned about food waste and concerned about hunger and poverty in this land of riches. Once we became aware of the great needs of those living in poverty, we felt we had to expand our service. So we created a second program, the Free General Store. FGS provides high-quality, new, and lightly used clothing for adults and children, and toys and books for children, all for free. We had learned early on that you cannot ask the poor to come to you to pick up goods. They don't have the resources to do so. So we came up with the idea of partnering with faith communities, schools, and community centers that could host what we call our mobile boutique. Clothing donations pour in from retailers, friends, neighbors, schools, sports clubs, and high-end secondhand stores. The mobile boutique takes thousands of items of clothing, toys, and books to the host site in an impoverished neighborhood. There we have a joyous event with live music, refreshment, and decorations to make it a day of happiness for the people we are serving. The clothing has all been cleaned, pressed, sized, and sorted by gender. It is then handsomely presented on racks and tables just like a real store, so that our customers have a true shopping experience. We even provide a team of personal shoppers to help customers pick out garments that fit properly, are flattering, meet their needs, and create an entire ensemble. Because we end up serving several hundred people, we usually present 4 stores at each boutique. After the first group has shopped, the store is closed for 15 minutes and are fully restocked so that the next group isn't looking at leftovers, but a brand new, fresh, fully stocked store. In its first year, the Free Journal Store has provided 40,000 articles of clothing and 25,000 toys and books to about 4,000 people in our county. In this way, we can ensure that parents have the clothing they need to feel comfortable at a parent-teacher conference, to go to a job interview, and clothes to keep their children warm in the winter. In addition to the mobile boutiques, the Free Journal Store also makes direct distributions to recipient shelters. And we support young people's occupational training programs by giving them full wardrobes when they graduate, so they will look the part venturing into the job market. White Pony Express's vision is to build on the generous nature of Americans so that a consciousness is born wherein it becomes natural for all to help one another. When that consciousness is widespread, there will be no more hunger, no more poverty. I hope you will take this message home and with the help of your friends, neighbors, service clubs, and faith groups, build a program to redistribute the abundance in your community. I hope I have been able to share some practical ideas and some feeling for how you can end hunger and poverty right now and bring others in your community from the margins to the mainstream. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Have you been able to replicate yourself in another area yet?
Well, we haven't, it's been a full-time press just to take care of what's happened in our county. And, our mission is to help end hunger and poverty in Contra Costa County out in California. And so until we've done that, until we've met that mission, we are not trying to go more broad than that. But we have, there are people trying to get something started like in Marin County. Well, they call us and we give them ideas about how they can take their next steps. And so we have ongoing conversations with San Francisco food runners and with the Peninsula food runners and with this group in Marin that's trying to get started. We're trying to help a group get started in Alameda County. So we're trying to help others. And if anyone here wants to get a program started, please call me or email me. The contact information is easy to find. It's whiteponyexpress.org, and we have a Facebook presence as well. You'll see the contact information there. We're happy to talk to you about how you can make this happen. And it won't happen all at once. You just start. And you'll be so surprised by how popular this whole idea is once you break the ice. People love this. And we now have stories. At first we had to go out and knock on doors and try to talk people who had never even considered. When people are used to throwing away food, that's the easiest thing to do. But we found that many grocers hated that. They hated the idea of throwing out that waste. They were throwing out sometimes 100 gallons of milk because the sell date was tomorrow, and they knew that their customers wouldn't buy it today. But that milk is still good for 2 weeks. But it has to go out into the trash bin. Well, when they found out that we existed, they embraced us. And so gradually, we've had to do much less selling. And recently, a Trader Joe's store in Danville, a nearby town to us, called us and said, would you please start picking up our shrinkage? And now when I call a market manager and say, here we are, we want to pick up your shrinkage, they say, come and do it. And so the White Pony Express is becoming a part of the fabric of Contra Costa County. And that's what we want it to be. We want everyone in the county to feel like they're a part of solving the problem. Whether they give food, whether they provide recipients with services, whether they're just a corporation that has something they can offer. We have accountants who provide us free services. We have graphic designers who provide us free services. So we are the constant beneficiaries of people doing what they can to help. And we want that to be how the whole community works. We want the White Pony Express to be a community program where everyone's taking care of each other. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. The people are so happy. You saw some smiling faces on the slideshow that went on as I was speaking. The recipients are head over heels with what's been happening in their lives. I think we're being told it's time for us to break. Thank you all so much for being with me.